Hi, my name is Yanis. For those who don't know me, I started my small business Percy's Angels in 2021, named after my father who passed away suddenly from pancreatic cancer. Back then, I was still in my second year of university studying business and working a 9 to 5. Never did I imagine I could make a living selling sweatshirts to strangers on the internet. But here we are almost 4 years later. We have sold 7 figures in revenue, making at least $20,000 a month, and have donated over $30,000 to cancer research. I wanted to share how I started the small business as someone who's anxious and an overthinker. I'll be sharing the journey of starting my embroidery business, Percy's Angels, from registering the business, setting up our social media, to managing expenses, shipping, marketing, and also navigating legal and financial considerations. Thank you .store domain for sponsoring this video. Let's start by talking about what I did before I launched my small business. Number 1 is you need a logo. Creating a logo is the first step in establishing your brand identity. I quickly designed mine on Canva and ended up loving how it looked, so I kind of stuck with it. I have no prior graphic design knowledge, and you really don't need that either. Platforms like Canva offer great templates that make it really easy to create something simple and effective. You can always change it later down the line, or if you prefer, you can always hire a professional designer to help you out. The next thing you'll need are product photos. You don't need a fancy camera to take great product photos. I always used my iPhone to take photos, even now, and when I first started, I used my iPhone X, which worked perfectly fine. What you do need though is good lighting. That can be found in front of a window or even outside in your garden. If you want to start vlogging or using a dedicated camera, I highly recommend the Sony CV1 for beginners. It's a really nice camera that can help elevate your content quality. Next, you have to choose the platform you want to sell your products on. There are a lot of different options, including starting an Etsy account, which I highly recommend for those who don't have a follower base already. You can also build your own standalone website on sites like Shopify or Wix. I've used both and they're both very user-friendly. If you're starting a standalone website, choosing the right domain is also extremely important. Think of it as an address. Your customers will have to search it up to find your store. I know it can be very overwhelming, but here's a tip. Check out what other successful brands are doing. What do Mr. Beast, Rihanna, and Discord have in common? They all use a .store domain. With .store, you'll stand out from the .com crowd, and customers will instantly know you're running an online store. Studies show that you can attract 87% more visitors and 2 times more visibility on Google with a .store domain. That means there will be more eyes on your products. Plus, .store offers discounts up to $2,500 on tools like MailChimp, Shopify, Canva, and Wix, all of which you may already be using. Here's the best part. For a limited time, you can get your own .store domain for just 99 cents for 1 year with my code PERCY. Before going live, I would recommend writing detailed and engaging product descriptions to help potential customers understand what you're offering. I made sure to highlight the unique features of each product and provide clear information about materials, sizes, and care instructions. Good descriptions can make a huge difference in convincing customers to make a purchase. Another thing I recommend having is an About Me section. This part is where you would describe why you started this business and who you are. It allows you to share your story, your passion for embroidery or whatever you're doing, and the inspiration behind your business. This helps create trust and sense of authenticity, making customers more likely to support your brand. Another thing is you have to make sure you have shop policies within your website. This would state your policies in regards to returns, exchanges, and anything like duties or custom fees. It will help set customer expectations and ensure smooth transactions, and also prevent misunderstandings on both parties. We also have a frequently asked questions section on our website. This will help customers find answers without having to email us all the time. Depending on what type of business you're starting, deciding on colors and variations for each product is also crucial for effective inventory management and meeting customer preferences. Initially, we started with limited range of color options because handling too many variations would have been so overwhelming. As we grew and streamlined our processes, we expanded our color choices and also sizes to better cater to our customers' tastes. Before launching, you also have to think about whether or not you want your shop to be made to order or do you want to make pre-made drops. For us, we are a made to order business, which means customers will place the order and then we will make the product. But a lot of the times I see small businesses doing launches or drops. It really depends on what type of product you're making and what suits your needs. For example, if you are doing a crochet business, you might want to do drops because it takes a significant time to make. For us, it's not too bad. Our processing time is around 1 to 3 weeks, depending on how busy we are. So during the holiday season, it will be a bit longer. There has been times where one of our videos have gone viral and we had to actually shut our store down just because we had way too many orders and we couldn't keep up with it. So that's something to keep in mind. Next up is you have to register your business with the government. At least in BC, it was a very simple process. I just filled out the necessary forms and then got my business officially registered. The step is really crucial for ensuring your business operates legally and is eligible for any benefits or protections. Before you register, you have to figure out whether or not you're a sole proprietor, you're a partnership, or you're a corporation. The best thing to do is to actually get an accountant if you're unsure. When I began working, I was registered as a sole proprietorship and then I transitioned into a partnership. That's because my boyfriend started working with me on this business. And now that we're making more income, we're actually thinking of registering as a corporation. Please take this as a grain of salt because I am not a professional accountant by any means. But from my understanding, a sole proprietorship is when you run the business by yourself. A partnership is when you run the business with one or more people. And a corporation is the business, it's its own legal entity. So it's separate from you personally, which means that your personal assets are protected from the business debts. So if you're really unsure on which one to register for, I really recommend getting an accountant. It will save you so much time and stress in the beginning when you're starting out. Now I want to talk about pricing your products. When pricing your products, be sure to account for materials, labor, including the time spent on each item you make, and overhead costs like electricity, equipment, and also maintenance. For example, to calculate something like a crocheted scarf, you would calculate the cost of the material. So for example, your yarn could be $4, might take embellishments like buttons or something, could be $2, so your material cost would be $6. And then you would calculate the labor cost, so how much time you spent actually crocheting the scarf and how much you want to pay yourself hourly. So let's say you want to pay yourself $15 an hour and it took you 4 hours to make it, your labor cost would be $60. And then you would want to add up all the total costs, so $6 for material cost, labor cost would be $60, so the total cost of making your scarf would be $66. And this is totally up to your preference, so you need to determine what your selling price is with your profit margin. So if you want 20% profit margin, you would do 20% of $66, which is $13.20, and your selling price would be $66 plus $13.20, which would be $79.20. My biggest tip here is to look at your competition. You can always go on Etsy and search up stuff that you are looking to sell and see what other people are selling at. This is what we usually do. So for example, if we're selling like a pumpkin sweatshirt, we would search that up on Etsy and see what our competitors are selling it at, and we usually would price it pretty in the median range, not too cheap but not too expensive at the same time. We also take into consideration how long it takes us to embroider each sweatshirt. So for example, if it's a smaller design, like just a few letters, we would price it a lot lower than something that takes a lot of time. One of our products that take the most amount of time would be our pet portrait embroidered sweatshirts. we have to draw each pet that gets sent in and then digitize them and then embroider them. The embroidery could take anywhere from 20 minutes to up to an hour. So this is why we charge significantly more, because the digitization is all customized, and also we have to take time to draw each pet. We've definitely had complaints about our prices, especially when our videos have gone viral. We even considered lowering them, but we realized that each order we make is handmade with care and attention. It's really important to value your time and the love you put into your work, even if some customers may not fully understand this. But I'd say like 99% of customers appreciate the effort and craftsmanship that goes into handmade products. Before launching your business, it's also crucial to set up social media accounts on platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and others to establish your brand's credibility. By sharing behind-the-scenes content such as shipping orders and the production process, you can build trust with potential customers and demonstrate that you're legitimate, because in the beginning, a lot of people thought we were dropshipping or even scammers. I mean, even now that we've built such a big platform on TikTok, people will still think that we're dropshipping our products from China, which is sometimes a little bit frustrating. But having behind the scenes shots and also story highlights on Instagram, it definitely helps a lot. I would also recommend to be very consistent in how you name your business for each of your social media accounts. That way it's easier for customers to find you on each platform. We were very lucky in a sense where no one took the name Percy's Angels on any of the platforms we're using, but if in the case where your name is taken, I'd highly recommend maybe looking into adding a period, a hyphen, or an underscore. I think the last thing you really need to understand before starting your business would be when you need to start collecting sales tax. I can't speak for everyone here because we live in BC, so if you live in any other state or province or anywhere else in the world, I really don't know what your regulations are, since it's very different between every state and province. But for us in BC, we have to collect GST if our business has a total taxable revenue exceeding $30,000 in the last 12 months. Once you reach this threshold, you need to register for GST and then start charging it on taxable sales. And then in terms of PST in BC, if you sell taxable goods or services and your business has significant presence in BC, you have to collect it. There's no specific revenue or threshold for PST, so if you make sales of taxable goods or services, you generally need to register for PST. For this portion, you really need to do your research or actually talk to an accountant, someone who's certified and know what they're talking about, because it can get so confusing. I was so stressed out because I didn't have an accountant, but now that I do, I really recommend it to anyone who's starting a small business. It'll save you stress, time, effort, everything you can think of. To effectively manage expenses, budget for new equipment and upgrades while considering second-hand items, which may have a reduced lifespan or limited return options, but it will save you tons of money when you're starting out. All of our embroidery machines, except for our first one, was purchased off Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. We saved thousands of dollars by doing this, but you have to make sure you're not getting scammed and that you're testing the product thoroughly before you make the purchase and transfer someone money. For example, one of our embroidery machines cost around $24,000 retail price, but we got it for around $17,000 and another one for $12,500. So if you think that your equipment is too expensive retail price, I highly recommend you look into Facebook Marketplace and also Craigslist, especially when you're first starting out. Next is we use a business credit card for all inventory and equipment purchases, which helps track expenses and earn cash back. We initially did not do this in probably our first 6 months, and oh my gosh, I regret it so much. The amount of money we spent on that card could have given us free flights because we earned points from it. And also our expenses were all over the place. We didn't know which card we were using at the time. By having a business credit card, everything is in one place and it'll help track expenses for you. I also log all of the expenses that we have at the end of each week, which makes tax season so much easier to handle. You'll thank yourself in the future for sure. I don't really want to get too deep into taxes, but here are some tax deductible expenses that I often know that people miss because I also wasn't aware of it. The first is gas expense. You can actually deduct gas cost if you're driving to buy materials for your business or to deliver parcels. So be sure you're tracking your kilometers and seeing how much gas you're using while doing those things. Next is rent. So if you rent, for example, a 1,000 square foot apartment and then you use one room of 300 square feet for your business, you can deduct 30% of your rent as a business expense. Any supplies you buy for your business to create your products are also deductible. Your electricity bill can also be partially deductible if it's used for business activities. And the last one would be business use of devices. Expenses for business-related phone bills, iPads, phone plans, and internet can all be deducted. Just make sure you know what is tax deductible because I did not know this in the first year and I was like, what the hell? I could have saved so much money. And I want to go in a little bit about shipping. We actually have a video that dives deep into how we ship and pack orders. I will link that in our description. But shipping is a very complex thing when you're first starting out because you have no idea where to start. For me and our small business, we started shipping domestically, so within Canada, and then later on we expanded to the US and then international later on. I highly recommend you to look into Amazon to see if there's any supplies. We first purchased off of there and it's the cheapest that we found. You don't need the fanciest packaging when you're first starting out. I know that it can be really nice to have and it can impress customers, but when you're first starting, it really doesn't matter because you don't have that much funds. I remember when I first started, I literally hand wrote a thank you note on a piece of paper. As you grow, you can upgrade your packaging because you have more funds to do so. And for the shipping process itself, I recommend looking into cheaper shipping options within where you live. So for us in Canada and Vancouver, we have shipping couriers like Chit Chats and Stallion Express that offer way cheaper rates than our national courier, which is Canada Post. Starting the small business has taught me a lot of invaluable life lessons, as well as some things that I didn't know about myself. I learned that I am a very competitive person with myself. I am an anxious person who tends to overthink literally everything in my life, and I know what I'm capable of. It's really frustrating when I don't meet my own standards or feel like I'm not working to my full potential. It's like this constant pressure I put on myself, and even though it drives me to improve, it can also be a lot to handle when I don't hit the mark that I want to. As I grew within my small business, I learned to recognize my efforts and progress and also celebrate small victories and give myself permission to learn and grow without harsh self-judgment. I think that approach has helped me reduce anxiety and improve my overall mindset to become more motivated to work. And honestly, I've always had a big fear of judgment. The thought of people criticizing or second-guessing my work used to freak me the hell out. It made me super anxious about putting myself out there, whether it was for starting my own business or just sharing something new. But over time, I realized that while worrying about what others think is natural, it's really just a distraction for me to make excuses to not do something. I've learned to focus more on my own goals and less on what other people might say. 99% of the time, no one is judging you, and if they are, they really have nothing better to do with their time. I think accepting that not everyone will love what I do has helped me get over that fear and stay true to my own path of what I want to do in the future. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe to our channel if you're interested in seeing more tips and tricks on starting your small business. See you in our next video. Bye!